All right, this video is for lesson 2-7. This is the main math message or the main lesson that we teach in class. If you were absent, you can use it to catch up. If you were struggling, you could use it to review. In this math lesson, we're going to be working to solve problems with arrays. And I need you to remember what an array is. We actually talked about it the other day when we were introducing multiplication, and I know that you had arrays in second grade. I know you did. Your teachers have told me. So this would be an example of an array. It's when I have these nice even rows and columns. Okay. Now we talked the other day that it's really important to know the difference between rows and between columns. We talked about how rows are like if you row your boat is going to move in this direction, right? You're hoping it doesn't go down. So those are your rows. Your columns, I said, remember the word column has the letter L in it, and so your columns are like your letter L's. They run up and down. So your rows and your columns. Now, when you write a number model to represent this array, it's really important, boys and girls, that you remember to do rows times columns when you're writing it. So how many rows do we have in this array? Well, I have 3 rows. How many's in each row, or how many columns do I have? I have 4. Okay, so this number model would be 3 times 4 for this array. All right, that's going to be important as we're drawing arrays to represent problems. All right, so let's look at this problem. Now, at school, I usually give you a piece of grid paper. It's got a bunch of little squares on it that you can shade in or put in X's. You probably don't have that at home if you're working from home. So just go ahead and have a blank piece of paper or even your whiteboard, and you can just make little X's on there, just like I did with my array, just like that, to draw out your arrays. If you happen to have 24 objects, like maybe go and see if you have 24 pennies or 24 Cheerios. Maybe you can gather, 24 little items, nothing big, and that you can arrange into arrays to do this problem. At school, I always have little square tiles that you can move around and manipulate and help you work out this problem. So if you need to gather anything, pause the video, go ahead and do that. All right, so here's the problem. It says, suppose there are 24 trombone players in a big parade. I want you to find at least 3 different ways the players could arrange themselves into arrays to march. So you're going to shade or draw X's to represent these arrays. Okay, so you got 24 trombone players. Now, guys, you're not just like putting them all over the field, just all willy-nilly. You're putting them into arrays. You're putting them into rows and columns. Okay, I want you to pause the video, and I want you to come up with at least 3 different ways that you could arrange those trombone players. Go ahead. Okay, so hopefully you came up with at least 3 different ways. Now, I went ahead and I came up with several different ways myself. Okay, so you see this first one up here. I took all of my trombone players and I made just one big long row. What would my number model look like? Remember, I have to do rows times columns. So what would my number model look like? Well, I have one row of 24 trombone players to equal my 24. Now this one here looks a lot the same, except it's going this direction. So now, how many rows do I have here? Well, this time, this number model would be 24 times 1. I have 24 rows, and I only have 1 column. Again, though, that still equals my 24 trombone players. All right, let's look at this array right here. So here I have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. And how many columns do I have? Well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this number model is 4 times 6. Now what does that equal? Well, it should still equal my 24, right? We're including all of our trombone players. We don't want to have any left over off to the side. We want them all included in our arrays. Now this one looks very similar, except look here. I'm going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows, and I have 4 columns. Again, 6 times 4 is 24. All right, did you have any of those ways when you were arranging them? Either of those that I did just now, where you did a 1 by 24, a 24 by 1, a 4 by 6, or a 6 by 4? All right, let's look at another one that I have. All right, let's look at this one. This one I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 rows. And how many columns do I have? 2 columns. 12 times 2 equals my 24 trombone players. And in this one, I have 2 rows. And guess how many columns I have? 12, right? 12 times 2 is 24, and 2 times 12 is 24. And then finally, down here, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows. And, oops, I don't think that's right. Hold on a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I do, but you know what? Wait a second. That doesn't equal 24. Because 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21. Oops, I actually forgot a row of trombone players. So actually, I have 8 rows. And how many columns do I have? I have 1, 2, 3 columns. So 8 times 3 is 24. Looking at this formation, I have 3 rows. And guess how many columns I have? If you're kind of picking up on the pattern here, you probably know I have 8 columns equals my 24. All right, so you were just supposed to come up with 3 different ways, but as you can see, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different ways up here that you could have arranged those trombone players. All right, so here's just a couple more. This kind of shows exactly what we just looked at on the previous screen. So now I want to ask you, what factors did we find for 24? Now, in the last lesson, I talked to you about factors and the word product. So who remembers what those 2 words mean? It's super important words. You're going to hear them 1,000 times this year. So let me put up one of my problems that I had with my my trombone players. I remember one of them was 2 rows of 12 equals 24. All right, boys and girls, these are my factors, and this is my product. Okay, factors are the numbers you're multiplying together. The product is the answer you're getting from those factors. So what factors did we find for 24? Well, if I go back and look at some of my arrays here, look at some of my factors that I had. I had 24 and 1. Well, 1 and 24. So those are the same factors, right? So I had the factors 1 and I had the factors 24. I had the factors 4 and 6, 6 and 4. So those are both the same. So I had 4 and 6. Let's go back. And then I had 12 and 2, or 2 and 12. And then I had did I have any other ones? Oh, yes, I had the 3 and the 8. 3 and 8. Okay. Now, it says, what are some numbers that we do not have as factors? So kind of look at all these numbers here. Think of a number that we don't have. When I look at these numbers, let's see, I have 1, I have 2, I have 3, I have 4. I don't have the number 5 up here. Could I use 5 as a factor to arrange my 24 trombone players? Pause the video and see if you can work that out. Okay, when I try to do 5, let me think of, like, what if I tried to do 5 in a row? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Will 5 work as a factor so that I have an array that equals 24? Okay, 5 does not work. So 5 did not work. Now it said, could those numbers work as factors of 24? Because we didn't use 5. 5 would not work. Why not? So I'm going to say 5 does not work because why? I can't make an array with 5, right? Whoops. I can't make an array. Remember, with an array, I got to make sure that all of my rows are equal or all of my columns are equal. And I don't have a trombone player right there. Okay? All right. So now same thing, like I see that I don't have the number 7 up here either. Boys and girls, try to make rows of 7. Try to put your trombone players in rows of 7. Will it work? Well, if I skip count by 7s, I'm just going to tell you, I'm skip counting by 7s. 7, what would come next? 14, what would come next? 21, what's going to come next? 28. Am I going to be able to arrange 24 trombone players counting by 7s? As you can see, I'll never land on 24. All right, so now here's what I want you to do. I want you to turn to page 48 in your workbook. And on page 48, there's just a place with some dots on there for us to draw some arrays. I'm going to give you some problems, and I want you to draw these problems out on this dot paper, okay? So here's what I mean. The very first one, number 1, I'm going to give you the problem that there are 3 boxes of crayons with 5 crayons in each box. So how many crayons are there? I want you to represent that problem on this dot paper, okay? All right, and I apologize that my page doesn't look exactly like your page, but you have a place that says topic, and so I want you to put the topic is crayons. That's what we're working with, okay? And the number model, I'm just going to put NM for number model just to save myself some time. If I have 3 boxes of crayons with 5 crayons in each box, my number model is 3 times 5, right? 3 groups of 5. All right, now I want you to go ahead and draw what that would look like as an array. Remember, rows times columns. So you're going to have 3 rows, which means I'm going to have 3 rows going across this way, okay? Now it's going to have 5 columns, or 5 in each row, okay? So usually this kind of gets a little bit tricky here as you're starting to think about drawing your array. I'm going to have 3 rows, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get it started like that. I know that looks like a column, but that's the beginning of each of my rows. then I'm going to have 5 in each row, or 5 columns. So there's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I can just go ahead and fill this in. And this is how I use the dot paper, boys and girls. I just put little X's over each of the dots. Okay, so now what would be your answer? Down below that, your answer should be what? 3 times 5 is 15, and 15 what? Don't forget to label because our topic is crayons, so 15 crayons. Okay, so you kind of see how I want you to do that. That was for spot number 1. Now I'm going to give you 3 other problems to do for number 2, 3, and 4, and this is exactly kind of how I want you to lay that out. All right, so now here's your next problem. It says there are 6 fish bowls with 1 fish per bowl. How many fish? So first of all, what's our topic? Our topic is fish bowls, right? Or actually, what are we trying to find? How many fish? So our topic is fish. And now what would be our number model? If I drew this out, if I have 6 fish bowls and there's 1 fish per bowl, what would be my number model? Well, I have 6 groups of 1. Well, right here you can probably see my answer, right? 6 groups of 1. What is my answer going to be? My answer is going to be 6 fish. But now I want you to represent this as an array. Remember, rows times columns. So you have to do a 6 by 1. Go ahead and pause the video, do your array, and then check to see if yours looks like mine. Okay, and this is what mine looks like. I have, actually, I just did that wrong. I just totally did that wrong. I should not have, this is a 1 by 6. Shame on me, I said it has to be a 6 by 1. So I got to turn that around, boys and girls. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See, even teachers make mistakes sometimes. This is 6 rows with 1 column. All right, let's look at our next problem. Okay, so the next problem I'm going to give you, it says there are 5 shelves of books with 8 books per shelf. So how many books? So what's our topic? What are we trying to find? We're trying to find books, right? Now, what is our number model going to be? Abbreviate that real quick. I have 5 shelves, and there's 8 books on each shelf. So I have 5 shelves. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 8 books on each shelf. I'm just going to draw them like this for now, and then we're going to transfer it to an array. Okay, so what's my number model? Well, I have 5 rows of 8. All right, so go ahead and pause the video. I want you to go ahead and represent this, your rows times columns, on your dot paper, and then tell me what your answer is. All right, and here's my array. So I have 5 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I have 8 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 5 shelves, and there's 8 books on each shelf. So 5 times 8 is, your answer should be 40. 40 what? 40 books. And this one, we wouldn't even really need to draw out that array to find the answer. If you were given 5 times 8, you know that anytime I multiply by 5, I take the other factor, put up that many fingers, and count by 5s. And you're going to get to 40. All right, your last one that you have to do, it says there are 2 cartons of eggs with 12 eggs per carton, so how many eggs? Your topic is eggs, okay? That's what you're trying to find out. If I have 2 cartons of eggs, with 12 in each carton, what's my number model? 2 groups of 12. Go ahead and pause the video, draw your array to match that. All right, there you go. I forgot to pause my video as I was doing that. I meant to pause it, and then I looked back and I was like, oops, I didn't pause it. So you got to watch me do that. All right, so now my number model is 2 times 12. So my array, remember, I have 2 rows by 12 columns. So I've got my 2 rows here, and there's 12 in each row. What does that equal? My answer is 24. 24 what? 24 eggs. All right, boys and girls, so that is a lesson on 2-7 where we are working on number stories with arrays.